For the better part of the Houston Rockets organization's existence, the roster has featured players who transcended their position and guided excellence. This is best exemplified by the championship-winning teams that feature the likes of Akeem Olajuwon and Clyde Drexler, and more recent perennial contenders that featured offensive juggernaut James Harden, Chris Paul, and Russell Westbrook. These kind of players are an absolute necessity for franchises to win championships and contend, and currently the Rockets are lacking a superstar player. I think that there is a player who can fill this role, and the purpose of today's speech is to convince you, the staff of the Houston Rockets front office, to draft Jalen Suggs. I will do this by further explaining the deficiencies of this team and explain why Jalen can be the solution to the Rockets' issues. The current roster construction of the Rockets represents a clean slate for General Manager Raphael Stone to work with. With some serious talent in players such as Christian Wood and Kevin Porter Jr., there is a clear base with which we can work. There are also good trade pieces such as John Wall, who helped rebuild some of his value, and Eric Gordon, whose three-point shooting can be a real asset to contending teams looking to dump developmental pieces and picks for the chance to win a championship now. The biggest key, however, will be making sure the right moves are made to continue to fill out the roster around Wood and Porter Jr., both of whom have massive amounts of potential. Christian Wood is a valuable asset to our roster due to his defensive capabilities and the efficiency with which he shoots the basketball. He is a mismatch for a lot of big men who will be playing the center and power forward position. Kevin Porter Jr. is a young offensive firecracker who represents a real threat to score every time he gets possession of the ball. Given more opportunity, he will likely be a scoring title contender every year. However, part of the issue with the Rockets team is that while these two players are strong at their positions, there is a limit to the sample size we have, and they both seem to have limitations that prevent them from truly taking over as the star this roster needs. This true superstar has become a necessary part of any roster. We've seen time and again how a player with a transformative skill set can take a roster that would be a middle of the pack and create a true title contender. For the better part of the last 2 decades, we have watched as players such as LeBron James and Stephen Curry have reigned supreme and won numerous championships. Each of these players adds such a unique edge to their team and represents a major advantage at their position compared to the rest of the league. LeBron James has a proper argument for the title of greatest of all time. With 4 championships to his name, the man has become a living legend and continues to dominate to this day. Steph Curry has helped revolutionize the way the modern NBA game is played by making the three-pointer an absolute must in today's game. Live by the 3, die by the 3. And for Golden State, it represented a dynasty on the back of that philosophy. However, the greatest example, and maybe the first real example, of just how great a superstar player can make a team lies in the other contender for the greatest of all time. Michael Jordan represents excellence like no other player, and in helping the Chicago Bulls become a legendary franchise by leading them to 6 NBA Finals championships, Jordan cemented both his legend and the need for a superstar player. This is where I believe Jalen Suggs can help the Rockets return to a title-contending team. Jalen represents a strong two-way force on the court with a statistical and physical excellence few in this draft class can match. Jalen Suggs was a strong contender at Gonzaga and represented a locked-in defender who can match up against opposing stars man-to-man. He was a facilitator for one of the greatest college basketball teams of all time and played very unselfishly. Jalen Suggs' play shows an unselfish player as he amassed 136 assists in his one season at Gonzaga, averaging 6.5 assists per game. Jalen Suggs also represented a nightmare for opposing players with 57 assists and 10 blocked shots in 30 career games, and totaled 160 rebounds, of which 142 were defensive. His ability to guard players and take over games was best exemplified with his fantastic performance against UCLA during the March Madness tournament. Offensively, Jalen Suggs is a smooth, decisive player with incredible vision to deliver passes on the floor that most players wouldn't dream of. These kind of skills give the Rockets a player who can create offensive plays in open space even when it is not available. Jalen Suggs helped guide Gonzaga as a clear team leader and will inherit a similar role on the Rockets, who have the talent to be successful and fit Suggs in immediately. Jalen plays with poise, is well liked by teammates, and sets a strong example on the floor. Jalen played with some incredibly talented players who helped boost his play, while also feeding off his unique playmaking abilities. These players were the great shooter offensive threat and likely first-rounder Corey Kispert, and one of the most skilled big men in the country in Drew Timme. These players were greatly benefited by having a player like Suggs who could command the offense and help open up spacing for their ability to shoot and score. The current construction of the Rockets roster offers an interesting and almost identical sort of construction thanks to the presence of Christian Wood and Kevin Porter Jr. As long as the Rockets build the offense around Suggs with the intention of spreading defenses and making them account for dangerous three-point threats, Jalen Suggs should be able to slide right into that similar leadership role for the Rockets and help bring them back to relevance. Jalen Suggs represents a unique talent that the Rockets cannot afford to pass on. He has that transformative ability and high ceiling that could bring the Rockets back into contention. If the Rockets give Jalen the chance, I truly believe he will be the next star for the Rockets franchise.